Hello, it's Saturday the 14th of March. You're tuned in to our 6 p.m. newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. Thanks ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. We start with North Korea's latest provocation and the international response to it. Needless to say, the United States has condemned Pyongyang for its test firing of several missiles into the East Sea. China, on the other hand, took a softer stance and called for everyone to play their part to cool tensions. Myung-kil reports.
The United States was quick to respond to North Korea's latest provocation. It demanded Pyongyang refrain from such missile launches, calling them irresponsible actions that aggravate tensions. Washington also stressed that North Korea should start fulfilling its legal obligations to the international community. In a briefing on Friday local time, Pentagon spokesman Steve Warren said the U.S. continues to closely monitor the security situation on the Korean peninsula. Issuing its own response, China called for all sides to show calm, saying all the relevant parties could be doing more to ease tensions and increase peace and stability in the region. The statements came after North Korea fired 7 surface-to-air missiles into the East Sea. Experts say the firings were an expression of Pyongyang's opposition to the ongoing annual joint military exercises between South Korea and the U.S. North Korea sees the drills as a show of aggression, but Seoul and Washington have repeatedly stressed the exercises are purely defensive. The North's latest provocation came shortly after it was announced that North Korea and Russia have declared 2015 as the year of friendship. The countries plan to hold a series of political, economic, and cultural exchanges this year to take their bilateral ties to the next level. The Kremlin has already confirmed that North Korean leader Kijong will travel to Moscow in May to attend a ceremony marking the 70th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. Myung-kil, Arirang News.
Some renowned US experts on Northeast Asia are calling on the United States to be more proactive in encouraging Korea and Japan to get along with each other. Speaking at the American Enterprise Institute Forum on Korea-Japan relations, former Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Kurt Campbell said Washington should put the same emphasis on tackling the issue as it does on the Iranian nuclear and Israeli-Palestinian issues. He stressed that if Korea and Japan, who he called America's closest friends, can smooth over their historical and territorial disputes, all 3 countries will be able to accomplish a lot more together. Another speaker, Victor Cha, chief Korea analyst at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, said the US's so-called pivot to Asia won't work unless Seoul and Tokyo are on the same page. The Korean man who so savagely attacked the US ambassador to South Korea, Mark Lippert, earlier this month is now in the hands of prosecutors after being released from hospital. Kim Kijong is facing charges including attempted murder and assault on a foreign envoy. Kim was in hospital receiving treatment for a broken ankle he sustained as he was shoved to the ground immediately following the knife attack. On a more upbeat note, though, Mr. Lippert says he's ready to get back to work next week, uploading a couple of photos of his young family and dog to his 12,000 Twitter followers on Saturday. The US envoy again thanked everybody for their friendship and support. Japan and China are reportedly seeking to hold a high-level meeting on ways to prevent potentially disastrous military miscalculations around a group of disputed islands in the East China Sea. Diplomatic sources tell Japan's Kyodo news agency that vice-ministerial-level officials from Tokyo and Beijing want to meet in Singapore in May to fine-tune a kind of maritime crisis management mechanism with an eye on having it come into practice by the end of the year. Tensions have threatened to boil over in recent months over the islets known as Senkaku in Japan and Diaoyu in China. Analysts say that if the 2 sides can reach an agreement, potential for clashes at sea or in the air would be greatly reduced. Iraqi forces are taking a breather in their push to take back the city of Tikrit from the extremist group that calls itself Islamic State. A source in the military command says the forces are awaiting reinforcements as the offensive on the city has been slowed by snipers and streets filled with homemade bombs and booby-trapped buildings. The source adds that Iraqi forces have no plans to move forward until more soldiers reach Tikrit, of which Islamic State still holds around half. One of the chief Iraqi military commanders says the holdup is not a major worry and there is no doubt Tikrit will be fully retaken from IS within days, he says. The expected victory in Tikrit will give Iraqi forces confidence for the next stage of their campaign, the much more difficult job of recapturing Mosul, the largest city under the control of Islamic State. Scientists in the US believe stem cells inside your teeth could one day help repair injured corneas, which is a problem that affects millions of people around the world. And what's especially promising is that the treatment uses the patient's own cells. There's no need for a transplant, which could reduce the risk of rejection and also hopefully lead to safer therapies. Our Son Jong-in reports.
The cornea is the clear outermost layer of the eye. It's an important tissue that protects the eye and helps transmit and focus light on the retina. Corneal damage can result in permanent vision loss and can only be treated with transplants from donors. U.S. researchers at the University of Pittsburgh have found a new way to repair the injury using a person's own cells. The scientists succeeded in converting stem cells extracted from the dental pulp of a wisdom tooth into a cornea-like structure. They cultured the stem cells and turned them into corneal cells, which have the same embryonic origin. Then they injected the altered cells into the corneas of healthy mice, where they were integrated without any signs of rejection. Experts say the latest findings have great potential for use in regenerating therapies, and it could open up a new path to treating corneal blindness, which affects millions of people worldwide. Still, they say it could take years for the technique to be safely tested in humans. 손정인, Arirang News.
One of Korea's biggest automakers, Kia Motors, is recalling tens of thousands of its Seoul small SUVs in the United States because the accelerator pedals can bend or fracture. Kia says nearly 209,000 vehicles are affected, all built between July 2013 and January this year. Both the standard Seoul and its EV counterpart are subject to this recall. In a statement, the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said that if the vehicle has a bent or broken accelerator pedal, the driver may have difficulty accelerating the vehicle, which would increase the risk of a crash. Kia says it will notify owners, and as with most of these mass recalls, repair work will be free of charge. And despite the worrying news, Kia was quick to stress that no crashes or injuries have been reported due to a gas pedal bending or breaking. Korea held its first Pyeongchang 2018 Paralympic Day ceremony in central Seoul earlier today, with a variety of events and musical performances taking place. Organisers hope the ceremony draws extra attention to the multi-sports event, which involves athletes with a range of physical disabilities. Now, one of the biggest draws of today's event was Korea's former Olympic champion ice skater Kim Yeon-ah, who was in attendance. The Paralympic Day will be celebrated every year until the actual Winter Paralympics in 2018. Pyeongchang will stage the 2018 Winter Olympics for able-bodied athletes from February 9th to the 25th in 2018. The Winter Paralympics will run from March 9th to March 18th. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, going to the bathroom was a get in and get out as soon as possible kind of situation. Now, this remains the case in most schools today for a variety of reasons. But a group of school kids in Korea have taken it into their own hands to freshen their school toilets up. Our Kijong reports.
Would you believe these are school bathrooms? Local students, with the help of the City of Seoul and the Seoul Metropolitan Office of Education, worked together to bring life to these once dull facilities. A survey last year showed that over 60% of students in Seoul were not happy with their school's bathrooms because they were dirty, stinky, and old. So unhappy up to a point that they wouldn't even use the ones at school, but would wait until they got home. The director of Seoul's Education Policy Division says students are more than uncomfortable. They're afraid to use their school's bathroom.
They're getting affected emotionally, and I think that having better bathrooms will be good for them.
The city's tested out this bathroom renovation project on 7 schools, 3 elementary, 2 middle, and 2 high schools, reflecting the needs and wants of students like adjusted sink heights and adding powder areas.
I suggested adding some lounges or rest areas inside school bathrooms because I noticed that a lot of people spend their time talking in there. They accepted my idea and it came true.
After receiving positive feedback, Seoul said it's creating a guidance manual for future bathroom makeovers. It plans to redesign bathrooms at 675 more schools by 2018. Kijong, Arirang News.
Now, before we go, let's give you a brief overview of the weekend weather here in Korea. And it seems spring is well and truly here to stay now. We saw a daytime high of 10 degrees Celsius today, and it will be even milder on Sunday with the mercury topping out at 13 degrees Celsius in Seoul under partly cloudy skies. And looking further ahead, we're going to see the temperatures in the mid-teens all next week as well. With that, let's take a look at the weather conditions around the world. Well, that's all we have for now. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday, wherever you're watching us, and stay tuned to Arirang TV. We'll be back with our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.